Hey guys, I'm back with another video on async and await, where we are going to see how we can implement it inside the JavaScript code with using promises. Uh, for those who are new to my videos, please do check out my older videos where I have explained how this async and await keywords are working behind the scenes in JavaScript. There are a lot of videos that I've posted. Please do check out, or either you can find those links in the description section below. Today we are covering some uh, practical implementation of async and await. So let's get it started. Before getting started, I just wanted to highlight some of the APIs that we used to do in a day-to-day basis to make a API call to the server. Fetch API is available in all the browsers. If you have to use this fetch API inside the Node.js environment, you can do so by node-dash fetch node-dash fetch package, right? Through that package, you can do so. Axios is another library, request promise is another library to make an async call to the server, and $.ajax from the jQuery itself. So let's get it started on the normal function. So I just wanted to compare normal function with the async function so that you can get an idea what is going on behind the scene, right? So for that, I'm just going to open the debugger because due to restriction of the securities here, you won't see those differences. So let me just type it before I go ahead. So normal function, let's say normal function test and then console.log, right? And normal function that you used to do, right? So let me just call this function and try this normal function as usually it will print the normal function value. And now we are going to see async function. Async function are the function which gets annotated uh, or appended with the async keyword, where we can, let's say this is an async function, right? And let's call this function test async. So the difference between normal function and the async function is like we have to append or prepend async keyword before the function keyword. And what it does is basically it wraps this function inside a promise under the hood. I've explained it in my older videos. Please do check out. So this will wrap inside a promise. So even though it is not going to return anything, but the async will make this function to return promise. So let's just see how this make that a function make this function to return a promise. So let's say if I copy paste this piece of code and write it here, right? Test async. If I call this, you see this is returning a promise. If I make some changes to it and if I say return 3, right? I'm returning 3 value. And now we will call this again. This is making that call and it is resolving that promise with a 3 value. And if I check with the normal function, what will happen is like just it will, yep. So here you can see this normal text is being printed. So you see the difference. If I call this test async again, this is returning a promise. This is what the under the hood async keyword is doing. It is basically wrapping this function inside the promise, and then after the promise is being returned. So whenever you write this async, it will return a promise. It does not matter what return statement are or what are the code behind inside this piece inside this function, right? Got it? So this is the basic difference. In order to use the await keyword, await is basically just to hold something which is going to take some time. For an example, I'm just putting some API call. Let's say I'm let make API call API get data, right? Get user, or let's say users response, right? I'm just using fetch API, and fetch API takes a URL and this, right? In traditional way, I had to do this way where I had to provide this function and then data will be returned to me, or data in the sense response data, response, right? And console.log. This was the traditional way of doing this doing this API call things, right? So let me just indent it little bits, right? And this was the older way of doing this thing, older way, right? By await keyword, it makes us by await newer way, or basically way. Why don't you code along with me? Just you can also prepare a JS bin or something like this, some editor, or you can use VS Code and code along with me so that you can get to know what are the things going on, so that you can get a better understanding while learning this video. You can pause this video till the time you write piece of code and try out those things. So let your response again, await response. I'm just using await so that you can be notified, and await using fetch and then URL, right? And this is the better way of doing the things, right? So you can see now we don't have to chain those methods again and again using the then, and earlier we were using the like to catch the exceptions, used to pass the again error function and then the console.log to error, right? But in a newer way, you have to wrap this code inside a try catch block where you can this you can implement similar kind of behavior, right? Console.log error, right? This kind of way you can do the same things, right? This is a much cleaner way to hold the things. So let's just see some good example, and I'll just show you the real-time example as I've in my third real-time example how we can fetch the data, right? So to fetch that data, there are some like APIs available out there in the market, JSON placeholder, like JSON placeholder. These are some of the API that you can use to test some of the Ajax call, and these are the try it, and these are the free. But I usually test it out with request and response.in. So request a response.in, this is a good website, and JSON placeholder, you can use any of them. There are a lot of them available. So I'm just using the request and response and to get the data. So let me just copy the link, and instead of, right, I'm just getting the data. And here, because it let me just show it to you what it will return. It will return me a promise as per my expectation, because it will return me a response which will consist of headers, configurations, and URLs and data also, right? So that we have to, so data we have to extract it. For response, let me just come await response, right? And now we will see. Okay, so you are getting certain things here. You can see array, buffer, blob, body, clone, form, headers, and other things, right? So what we have to do is like we have to extract that data, this data basically, JSON data, right? So how we can do that? Like again, we can use let uh, data or user data and await, because it is going to return a promise again, and await response.json. So this will again extract the user data, and now I'm going to print the user data. So now you can see like this response. So status weekly, and this data is being printed here. This was a real-time scenario and how we should use the test async function. Right now we will see the async exception with async keyword, how we can use that. So exception is basically, let's say I'm having any function What if I say that async function, or let's say I'm creating function with async name, right? What it will do? Will it print something, or will it return me error, throw me error? Async. I'm just calling this async function. It it will return a value. This is a catch here. Please do make sure that this can get asked in the interview. If I like if async keyword can be a name of function, yes, it can be in the JavaScript. So please be make sure that you don't create, or if anyone having that confusion, please do some practice over it so that you can get to know, right? So that's it, guys. Uh, I hope you like my video and content. Please do subscribe and like. Thanks.